astronaut has traveled. It was a moment, and we're getting pictures in this morning, the Artemis II crew surpassing the 56-year-old record set by Apollo 13, where we saw a distance reached of more than 252,000 miles from Earth. And as they transited the far side of the moon, well, the views, I think it's safe to say, they were out of this world.
Without a doubt. And today on Weather Command, we are joined by a very special guest, former NASA astronaut Dr. Harrison Schmitt, joining us. Dr. Schmitt, a part of Apollo 17 that took off in 1972 and is the last surviving astronaut to have walked on the moon. You stand in a league of your own, my friend, and we are very honored to have you here. We do want to talk about your mission and the role it played in setting the stage for the Artemis II crew. But have you been able to see some of the newer NASA images that were released this morning? They are just so incredible to see, as Stephen mentioned.
Yes, it's remarkable to get these new images of the far side of the moon, some of which, of course, has been photographed by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter spacecraft, but we've never had human hands holding the camera for some of those areas. It's really quite remarkable.
I think listening to the astronauts too, Harrison, as they were making that journey close to the moon, hearing how they were trying to describe it, and I think it was Victor Glover who basically said, we don't have words in the dictionary to describe. Did that evoke any emotion from you? Can you relate to them? I'm sure you could, but hearing it from them, what did you feel?
Well, of course, we had many orbits of the moon, and my background being in geology, I guess I had a few words to describe what they have seen. But I still am very active in lunar research, and all of this new information, particularly of Orientali, the basin that they photographed, is and looked at. That's going to be very important to some of the things that we're doing.
Okay, so with that thought, I wanted to follow up with a question, because there's an image that we just got within the past couple of hours of the Vaval Crater. I'm not sure, Christopher, if we'd be able to pull that up. I'm not sure if you've been able to spot it. Obviously, the moon is, a record keeper for history. The Vaval Crater, as a geologist, because it's important to note, you were the first scientist to walk on the moon and the only scientist to walk on the moon. You look at this thing, what are you seeing from this, Harrison?
Well, that's a very classic picture. It looks very much like Copernicus, which I mapped many decades ago. It has those central peaks that are rebound features after the impact occurred. The upper mantle probably rebounded up and formed those peaks. And then you also see the indications of landslides from the walls. Those probably occurred fairly quickly after the basin formed. That's very classic of a relatively fresh, by that I mean it may be only 1 billion years old, but a relatively fresh crater on the moon, of which there are many and have been studied quite extensively in the near side area of the moon. Now this is a crater on the I believe, west side of Orientali, the big basin, the last big basin to form on the moon, by the way.
Talk about it like you've been there before.
Yeah, right.
And we're not getting a lunar landing from this crew, but there will be a lunar landing eventually, and that's already down the pipeline. But seeing somebody go through a very similar experience, there's a small group of you that can relate to this narrative. And so when you see these images come in and you hear the words that are being expressed by the crew, the crew of 4, does it take you back to that moment that you not only went around the moon, but went onto the moon?
Well, it does. It really does. And one of the things that I heard, I think yesterday, was that somebody said that it would be very uncomfortable to be around the far side of the moon and not being able to talk to Houston. Well, that's not the way we felt. It was great to be on your own during that period of non-communications with Houston. Also, a little while ago, you had a picture of the rising Earth from the far side of the moon. That looked almost identical to the picture that I took and that the view we had on Apollo 17. Of course, we were in lunar orbit, but that view of a sapphirine Earth rising above the moon is really one of my very, very favorite images of Apollo 17.
I mean,
And now they've taken it again.
They've taken it again, and I have a feeling that we'll have a few more within the next few years, because as we know, as far as the plan goes right now, Artemis II, the crew will stay in Earth orbit, and then eventually by Artemis IV, we'll be coming back. This is another iconic image. This was dubbed the blue marble, and Harrison, I know that there's a lot of fanfare about this one. It actually was compared to the image of the disk that the Artemis II crew captured, but this one was from 1972. This was a part of your Apollo mission. The fact that some of these photos do stay in, what's a better word, the zeitgeist, it just stays in our conversation. Does it speak to how you guys viewed these things? Does society do a good job at remembering what it was like 50 years ago?
Well, that blue marble photograph that I took was a part of a series of photographs I took to document my weather observations for about 3 days on the way to the moon. And as you can see, it really a remarkable view of the southern hemisphere, mostly of those arrowhead-shaped fronts coming out of and anticyclones, in this case, in the southern hemisphere, and rotating around their source, which of course was Antarctica. It really was, and then this picture on the right is a moonlight picture of the Earth. That is really fantastic. I of course saw the Earth in faint moonlight, but to have this particular image now with the sun behind the Earth is really, really remarkable and quite fantastic.
I feel like it inspired the marble in Men in Black.
Yeah.
They're playing with the marbles, and we are one marble in terms of many marbles in the galaxy. Okay, before I leave.
When I was in orbit around the moon, I could see a lot features very clearly in Earthlight, bluish Earthlight. It really was quite. That was also a very remarkable experience.
Makes you really appreciate how special Earth is, this planet that we inhabit. And before we leave you, I guess closing thoughts, because one of the more infamous quotes from you as you were walking around the moon with your crewmate, Gene Cernan, the thing you had said to him was a challenge. I challenge the next generation. Let's see them make footsteps one day. Here on the lunar surface, it took us some time. It took us quite a few decades, but we're one step closer today. We kind of did it. And what do you anticipate for the future? What is your dream?
Well, I don't think there's any question that we'll see Artemis 4 and 5 with crews on the moon, and they'll begin at the South Pole to gather brand new information. There's a lot of differences between the polar regions and the equatorial and low latitude regions that we've explored. So that's going to add a great deal to our understanding of the moon and our understanding of the resources that are available there for use here on Earth, as well as to assist us in our next trip, which is going to be our next set of trips, which will be to Mars.
Yeah, that's the future that we have to look forward to, and those volatiles will be vital. The presence of perhaps water ice on the South Pole, making that more permanent presence there possible. I could talk to you all day. I also am curious about the lunar dust, because that's another thing, but we got to go. I guess.
Let's find another date to talk. We'll get some coffee next time, and yeah.
You got a birthday coming up on July 3rd too.
I can talk. Oh yeah, July 3rd. Almost made the 4th of July. But I can talk forever about the resources on the moon. So let's schedule something.
We will do so. Dr. Harrison Schmitt, appreciate your time this morning, and thanks for joining us on Weather Command.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's been very nice.
All right.